Every building tells a story, but some buildings are designed to hide them. This is the story of how architecture became a weapon, how concrete and steel were used to create the perfect crime scene, and how the people who built it knew exactly what they were building. Welcome to Little St. James. But forget everything you think you know. We're not here to tell you about Jeffrey Epstein. We're here to show you something no one else has. The contractors, the builders, the architects who created his fortress, and what they saw. In 2019, a construction worker came forward. His name was Steve Scully. He'd worked on the island in the early 2000s. What he described wasn't a vacation paradise. It was a facility. Scully described seeing young girls on the island constantly. He described Epstein's obsession with privacy, soundproofed rooms, surveillance everywhere, areas contractors weren't allowed to enter. But here's what haunts him. He was told to build an underground network, not a basement, not a wine cellar, a network. Tunnels connecting buildings, ventilation systems that made no sense for the climate, reinforced doors, industrial generators powerful enough for a small hospital. Other workers came forward too. They described being paid in cash, signing NDAs, being threatened if they talked. One electrician said he installed a surveillance system with over 70 cameras inside bedrooms, bathrooms, common areas. Everything was recorded. Now let's talk about the most analyzed building on the island, the temple. Blue and white stripes, golden dome. But architectural experts noticed something immediately. It's not a temple. Dr. Sarah Kenzier, an architectural historian, analyzed the structure. The proportions are wrong. The materials don't match any known religious architecture. The dome wasn't structural, it was decorative, a distraction. After Hurricane Irma destroyed the dome in 2017, satellite imagery revealed something crucial: a massive ventilation system. Industrial grade. The kind you'd find in laboratories, server farms, or underground facilities. Geological surveys of the island show the temple sits above a natural limestone formation, perfect for excavation. Contractors confirmed there are spaces beneath. How deep, we don't know. The FBI has never released that information. But here's the detail that chills experts. The temple's entrance faces the mansion. It's positioned for visibility, which means it wasn't meant to be hidden. It was meant to be seen. A symbol, a trophy. A message to those who visited. I can build whatever I want. When you map the entire island's infrastructure, a pattern emerges. This wasn't a home. It was a machine designed for three things: isolation, surveillance, and control. Isolation. The island is only accessible by helicopter or boat. Every arrival and departure was controlled. Flight logs, boat manifests. Guests didn't just visit, they were tracked. Surveillance. Former IT contractors described a digital fortress. Servers stored footage, backup systems in multiple locations. Some believe copies were kept off island. Insurance. Control. The architecture created hierarchy. The main mansion had clear sightlines to every other building. Guest villas had limited views. The staff quarters were isolated. Even the landscaping was designed: dense vegetation blocking certain views, open areas creating exposure. Here's what makes this worse. Every building had permits. Every construction phase was inspected. Local officials signed off on everything. In 2020, investigative journalists obtained the permit history: 37 building permits between 1998 and 2018. Inspections noted unusual construction requests, but approved them anyway. Why? Some inspectors later claimed they were told not to ask questions. Others said Epstein's lawyers handled everything. One former planning official, speaking anonymously, admitted, "We knew something was wrong." But he had connections to the governor's office. We were told to expedite his permits. Between 1999 and 2015, Epstein donated over $300,000 to local Virgin Islands political campaigns, to governors, to legislators, to the very people who oversaw building regulations. The architecture of evil wasn't just physical, It was political. On July 8th, 2019, 2 days after Epstein's arrest, the FBI raided Little St. James. They seized computers, hard drives, photographs. But former federal investigators say something's missing. The surveillance system contractors described, over 70 cameras, should have generated terabytes of footage. The FBI's evidence list mentions digital storage devices, but doesn't specify how many or their capacity. No footage has ever been made public. More troubling, contractors say there were multiple server locations. If Epstein backed up footage off island, and experts believe he did, where is it? Who has it? And why hasn't it surfaced in any prosecution? In 2023, the island was sold to billionaire Stephen Deckoff for $60 million. Within months, demolition began. The temple was torn down, guest houses demolished, the mansion gutted. By 2024, almost every structure was gone. Steve Scully, the contractor who spoke out, was asked in a 2020 interview, "Did you know what you were building?" He paused for a long time. Then he said, "Not at first, but after a while, yes. And I'll carry that forever." Dozens of workers were involved in building that island over 20 years. Electricians, plumbers, landscapers, pilots who flew supplies, boat captains who ferried materials. Most have stayed silent. Some out of fear, some out of shame. But the architecture remains evidence. Even in ruin, even demolished, the plans exist. The permits are public record. The geological surveys, the infrastructure maps. The truth is literally built into the ground. They can demolish the buildings. They can seal the documents. They can bury the servers. But they can't erase what was built. The architecture of evil leaves a blueprint. And that blueprint tells us everything we need to know about how power protects itself. The contractors knew. The inspectors knew. The officials knew. The guests knew. And now, the question isn't what happened on Epstein Island. The question is, who built it, who approved it, who protected it, and are they still doing it somewhere else?